Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and I've got turn 33 as I continue to keep up with this. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. The war between Hinnom, Sauromatia, and Lanka is my whole feed at this point. We got a message from Hinnom though. This is an interesting situation. I've crushed Sauro, but Lanka is on my cap. Basically, I want to make sure Sauro doesn't get back up on their feet, but in less than 10 turns, I need to go defend my cap. But if he doesn't bring more siege chaff, I should have plenty of time left. And hitting Alt 5 in 2 turns from now will really help me buff up my troops to survive the Lankan demons. They don't hit particularly hard in order scales. Cheers, Stonetroll. Alright. Alright. So I'm going to really quick just jump into the battles that aren't related to that because I think there's only 3 of them. So we've got a barbarian attack on should defeat this PD. Slingers, you would think they would do okay against barbarians, but I've always found them very underwhelming somehow. They help if they have a front line, but just on their own, even a couple hundred slingers will do a disappointing job. I think it's their low morale, so as soon as the barbarians make contact, then they end up running away. So yeah, they only score 3 kills for 30 of them. And then we've got Valrust. Fomoria attacking barbarians. Now we do have a number of these sacred Barghest. Again, the solar weapons, resist, blur, and reinvigoration. I think the 2 biggest things is the blur and the solar weapons for the dogs. Now they do have dark power 3, so if Fomoria can get up to darkness, they will do significantly better in darkness. Those timings actually worked out perfectly. Right as the spearmen made contact, the dogs did as well. So that was extremely well done. Only loses 4 Barghest, 1 of the elephants. I thought he would lose both elephants, and he didn't, so well done there. And then we've got an indie attack against Mekone. More barbarians. They're everywhere, and they are ready to pillage and plunder. So they'll take this one off of Mekone. If he's lucky, a few of them will poison themselves on mushrooms. Does not appear to be the case, though. Alright. So we've got a whole bunch of battles here. Then we'll start with I'm assuming this is a ping. So we've got a Great Hawk. And it's what I thought it was. So we've got the scout here. 1 soulless warrior. Lanka's pulling off the capital. Okay. And then I think we'll just go through the rest of these in order. So we've got Grey Mercs here. A small group of Seir with a check yourself. The Melkart. So Stonetroll with some sassy names. Now I do expect maybe one of the Seir to die. Archers just have a way of frequently killing a Seir. They do have very low protection. But he does not lose one this time. Lanka goes ahead and attacks Sinaf. So we've got a large Lankan army, a bunch of Ghana, a bunch of Palankasha, this Mage Corps here. All of that going into 1 PD. And then okay, so clearly they're not coordinating that much because Sauromatia then rolls into the same province. So I think we're going to see a dead Sauromatian raiding party. Okay. So that's 19 dead. Lanka loses some Solus. I mean, this only helps Hinnom. Hinnom then does a barrage of attacks. So we've got Scatly Swamps. Yeah, the Long Dead with the Mazics that did better than I thought they would in the last battle. And they should do reasonably well here. I believe it's just the one commander. Okay. Loses one Long Dead and one Mazic. In Mountains of Evernight, we've got a group of Roughites, unblessed, against a large PD dump. Could lose a couple of them here. We'll have to see. Now, if these were Horse Tribe, I would think it's even more likely that he loses a couple, but these are light cav with only spears. They are horrendous and they're already fleeing. So let's see if he lost any. Nope. So that was actually really clean then. Even killed a few Lancers that were being recruited. In Giant Spine, we've got a group of Avite Spearmen heading up a group of Avite Heavy Archers. Another just mosh pit of stuff, though. This could defeat the raiding party. It's just so much stuff. Especially led by heavy cav and heavy infantry. So these Avite Spearmen are really holding on. I would have expected them to rout. I'm going to be honest. Even with 3 experience stars, that was... I guess they're up at 17 morale. Okay, maybe it's a little less surprising. Alright, so Hinnom would just win after win after win here against Sauromatia. We've got another raiding party, more ref fights. This one with the Prophet and some point buffers. Against just the Crab General with some Oreopata bodyguards. And that is potentially another strength for Hinnom. Is Sauromatia doesn't have the magic weapons. At least I don't think they do to punch through body ethereal on ref fights. Not sure what Sauromatia does about that, other than killing the leadership in the raiding party with attack rear. We do have a couple more Lankan raids. We've got a Solus group out raiding. Okay, Hinnom cleans that up. And in Tinver, we've got a Lankan thug. This is the guy that was going through the underwater provinces. He's got the amulet of breathing. The heaviest thug that we've seen so far, and he's going up against just one PD. The buffalo kills the humans and the Avite, so the thug didn't even have to do anything. Alright, in Avoca, get a Hinnom counter raid with a Melkart. And as a reminder, they do have fear. So, just built into the chassis. Lanka goes after Frosted Peaks. So it looks like he's trying to seize the cap circle. He has a Glove of the Gladiators. Swiftness Lucky Thug, which is pretty cool. So that's 4 attacks for 31 damage. I think I would embed this guy as an army thug. He seems like the kind of guy that would be perfect for killing Roughites or Melkarts. I'm not sure if I would send him out solo thugging, because at most he's going to kill 2 units a turn between the gore and the gloves, because the gloves will just target 1 unit. But he should be plenty tough enough to kill this. I'd just be concerned if he ran into a squad of Roughites all by himself. Mistform wouldn't really protect him here. He doesn't have enough protection or defense. And he might kill 1 or 2, but he'd also get killed. All right. Very nice. So it does take that province, though. In Gibernia, we've got another small squad led by a Melkart. Big mistake. Oh man, he's naming them. Stonetroll's getting sassy. Okay. And then in... Oh, and then we saw the Hinnom one. Alright, so let's take a look at the map. Alright, so Xibalba did not start off with initial raids like I thought he would, and I think he should have. He had the numbers advantage. I think this was the only reasonable place for Palankasha to congregate. For some reason, it doesn't seem like Lanka fully respects the amount of stuff moving out of these caves. So, woo! Voice gave out on me for a second there. But yeah, Lanka doesn't seem to be respecting all the stuff coming out of these caves. These Palankasha moved further away. Maybe they've got some sort of nap, and he's relying on that to protect himself. I'm not sure if that's a great idea. 30 Palankasha tops with the Oracle here and some blood hunting patrollers. I don't know. And I do think it would have been good for Xibalba to raid, because he could have hidden the scouting reports a bit. So if he had maybe raided all of these, then Lanka wouldn't be able to see the full amount of stuff that was coming in. So he is doom stacking a bit. But I'm not sure what Lanka's going to do about it. And Lanka should know this is coming, because there's the buildup in the Weald. If he had done a buildup solely in Eric's, he could be claiming that he's going for the throne in Diplo and then attack Lanka. But Yeah, I think Lanka is going to be very sad soon. I think a raid down here with or here would be even better with the Aussies, and then sending the main force here and maybe sending this force on Pronda would be a pretty good start. So then you would take Nightmarsh, Star Peaks, put Pronda under siege, and then I'm not sure what Lanka does outside of PD dump and move all these Solus in. You can probably kill that. And then you put Lanka under siege. Lanka loses all of his income. But even in that turn before, like we talked about last time, he would lose all of his income from over here just by taking these two. And I haven't tested it. You might even, I think this traces income because he owns the lake. It's Vanheim that'll trace over lakes that I believe they don't own. So I do think you need both of these. This is interesting. So this is Lanka moving deeper into Hinnom's territory. They're trying to seize the cap circle. He might be viewing this fort as an easier target than the capital. And if he takes this fort, he can use it as a base to train new troops and move and then come back to Hinnom and siege it. And maybe he's trying to cut off Hinnom's income as well. But there's another Hinnom fort down here that's collecting a little bit of income. And he's got Zemiki now as well. And he's in Sauromatia's cap circle as well. So, what do you do? Let's see. This was the 20 rough fights. So Hinnom split. I think he could try to rally on World's Teeth and potentially in Avoca. If Lanka's intending to move here to put this fort under siege. Now Lanka could be trying to go to Flemistan. And then maybe he's thinking this group will come take this fort and this group can take this fort, and as long as he keeps the cap locked down for a little bit, then he'll be in pretty good shape. And then he can just keep pouring stuff into Hinnom and try to put it back under siege. This Hinnom army can reconstitute itself pretty quickly. Sayir have pretty high map move. So do Melkarts. We can at least check Melkarts easily. There is an argument that we should have run the Better Nations overview just so I could pull up units a little bit easier. If I really need to, I could go off and take a look at the mod inspector, but it would be nice if it was in here. So let's go ahead and check Hinnom. So yeah, we're looking at 20 map move. And yeah, we don't have the summons in there. But I would assume Sayir are probably 20 map move, if I had to guess. I guess we can go look at them. I'm being silly. Oh, they're only 14. Never mind. Okay, so they're not as high map move as I thought. Now, 50 Oreopata and whites, I think, can kill these two Sayir parties along with the two Melkarts. So I think both of these are going to come back, or they're going to raid elsewhere. So this group could go onto Iron Peaks, where it might bump with these barbarians if they migrate. And this group could raid kind of in a backfilling way. So it could come back to Urek Balcor and start trying to backfill this. Alternatively, it could maybe go into Banded Hills or try to walk over Raphabolia and try to get into the Sauromatia backline a bit. I don't think he wants to do that with his Sayer. So I'm anticipating either he's gonna pull everything back in or they're gonna go off to the sides and avoid the big stack. He could try to guess where these Oreopata might raid. They might patrol this turn, but they also might try to raid to kill one of these raiding parties or cut off income. And maybe this group could make it to here and defend. I don't think they could make it to here, even if they own it. I'd have to double check the map move. So maybe this would be a little bit safer counter raid for Sauromatia. And my phone's going off again. But yeah, this has been well done by Hinnom. Definitely put Sauromatia on the back foot. I don't think he has the strength or the time to kill Sauromatia, though. And every turn he lets Lanka sit on his cap is another turn of Devra fights. So I do think there's a strong incentive to go free or capital on Hinnom. But I do worry about Lanka's position here, especially with these troops drifting further to the right. They're in a forest now. Could take them a little bit longer to get back. I forget if I know a lot of Lankan troops get forest survival. I forget if Palankasha do. They do. Okay, so should be a little bit easier for them to get back. But this is extremely ominous. I would not trust this at all. No matter what the player said, I'd be pulling stuff back. Let's see. And the Hellherdings have moved out. Where, we don't know. But that's also ominous. It could be Xibalba and Helheim going after Lanka. It could be Helheim getting ready to go after Tianchi. I was kind of expecting some fighting by now between Mekone and Tianchi. Maybe there's another... Maybe this is the last turn of peace? I'm not sure. We did have an army move out of the capital. Alright. This is very much starting to look like a base trade. If all these rough fights had been here, and maybe the Sayer group had gone here, I have to think that Sauromatia would be under threat, especially if the Prophet was there too. And I'm not sure what you do on Sauromatia once Hinnom's sitting on your capital, at least at this point. They do have extremely good mages, so they could try to magic duel any astral caster, so they could turn off the body ethereal. If there's astral mel cards, they could kill those. They could do Skelly spam, some point buffing. They could have GSS thugs. Marverni's still sitting in his fort. I very much dislike that he just let these two provinces slip away and he hasn't tried to retake them. But we'll have to see what he's got planned. With Fomoria, Fomoria still seems to be scaling a bit. He's got an awful lot of events. Fertility cult. Fertility cult. These will come back and siege his province. Or his provinces, they'll attack. So I do think you want to patrol them out, and sometimes patrolling them out or preaching, at least in a different game I'm in, I managed to get a dryad to join me, which was pretty cool. But yeah, worried about his forests. Still waiting for the Mekone assault. Berytos is still scaling like mad. We see a growing number of shed, a bunch of draconians, whole bunch of blood hunting. So the armies of Berytos are definitely starting to become higher and higher quality over time. I do think he's probably at the point where he could take this stuff from Hinnom if he wanted, but he might not want to. Or he might not realize it's possible because this border has been reasonably stable, unless Berytos has been scouting it. And then we've got is a little party here, but otherwise isn't really moving. All right. Is scaling. Berytos is scaling. I think they can both get away with it. They both have high incomes. With the second cap. Berytos with the very greedy expansion he's got away with. Helheim needs a successful war, I think soon, where he takes some territory. I'm not sure where he gets that. Apparently TNG is okay with him just taking these two provinces. I do think the territory should come from Lanka, actually. I don't know if they've got a nap. If they do have a nap, maybe he just keeps nibbling at TNG. Could try to take this fort along with this throne. That would be a nice get for Helheim, flipping from death to growth scales. Yeah, I think this is probably his best move, is going for this throne, but we'll see if he has talked to Xibalba at all, and he's looking at getting some of this territory, and they split it. Xibalba seems intent on Lanka's capital. I'm very concerned for Lanka. I don't think this is enough at home to protect, especially with this stuff moving further away. And this stuff moved even deeper into Hinnom's territory. So I'm very concerned. It's also very easy to cut off his income here. He hasn't built a fort over here. Yeah. So very concerned. It does look like a Lankan overextension over here, at least to me. We'll see. For Mekone, I want to see this invasion of TNG. It'll be hard, especially as TNG gets more research. TNG is going to be able to do gifts from heaven, which is going to kill a lot of Mekone giants. And Mekone doesn't really have all the astral and glamour that you could use to try and counter gifts from heaven. Because luck is in glamour now, twist fate is in astral. He hasn't taken this throne either. I thought he was going to take this throne. So I want to see some aggressive play from Mekone. For TNG, Continuing to turtle a bit could be good. Would be nice to clear up this fort. But I think he's very understandably keeping his armies at home, ready to respond. He's very much looking like a target right now. And then, yeah, I'd like to see Marverni. Marverni's scales are too bad to, I think, turtle for turn 33. I think he should be looking for a fight. I think once you get Gifts from Heaven on Marverni, and once you get, or point buffs, if you want to go that route as well, depending on who he might fight. And then maybe once you get your Boar of Carnute train going, then I think you want to pick a fight. Now, turn 33, he might not have the, I think they're both 5s in research. I could be wrong. But he might not have the second piece. He might only have 1 by now. But he's got to be upkeep constrained, especially holding on to this large scales troop army. And I do think he's really missed an opportunity to see some of this land. He might have a nap with Sauromatia, but I don't think a nap entitles someone to your territory. Especially if it's just been raided as part of a war. In my view, I would still have a claim on that land, and I would go take that land. And as long as I'm willing to fight that person over it. And I think he should be willing to fight Sauromatia. Sauromatia's got huge problems with Hinnom. Now, Sauromatia might give a very favorable peace to Hinnom to go fight a war with Marverni. But I still think that would be a better war for Marverni than what's transpired here against Hinnom. Did this income? And he did cut off the income this time. So he's not, Sauromatia is not getting any of this income, which was 300 or 400 income. Was that 100, 260? Yeah. Like 340. So this is a lot of income to lose for Sauromatia just from the Grey Mercs raid. So yeah, I don't know. This is it's a tough one. But I do think it might doom Sauromatia, but Xibalba might doom Lanka, and definitely make Hinnom's life a lot easier as soon as he launches this attack. And if he's going to hold stuff on the border like this for too long, he should just attack. You can bring in reinforcements behind. You don't have to have everything all together in 2 big doom stacks. So we do see a little bit of blood hunting still down here. Still some more Aussies popping up. Maybe he's calling this blood hunting, but I would not believe it if I were Lanka. So yeah, I think in short, I want to see more action from Marverni. I want to see more aggression from Helheim. I want to see less aggression from Lanka. More from Mekone, although that might be about to kick off. Tianchi, I think, is doing it about right. Berytos is in a good spot. Ur's in a good spot. Fomoria. I'm not sure what a good plan for Fomoria is. With all that air magic, it's not the greatest against Hinnom. So I'm not sure if he wants to fight Hinnom. And as a reminder, this is the the main battle mage for Fomoria. So Hinnom does not care about mist form point buffing, survives lightning bolts and thunder strikes better than other people. So I could see Fomoria being a late entry to a Mekone war. So as soon as Mekone, if you get some decent scout coverage in TNG, as soon as Mekone and TNG fight a big battle, if it goes Mekone's way, I think you vulture like crazy all along this border here. You take the Olmish for it, you take this, this. You look for taking this throne, although that might upset Mekone. But this is such a strategic province. I think you want to own this on Fomoria. I don't know if you want to go fight Marverni. That seems like an awkward war in terms of geography. So you've got two Marverni forts here, kind of securing things. The Marverni army is nearby. Your fort is still under construction here on the Throne of Life. It's probably a pain to get over here. It wouldn't surprise me if he had to take 2 turns just to get to here or to here. Let's see what this event is. Another fertility cult. So yeah, I think with Fomoria you keep wanting to scale and wait for a good opportunity to vulture. Keep building up your forces. Berytos could look to vulture Hinnom or TNG if the opportunity presents itself. I don't know if he wants to press a war against Marverni. I think that would be very destructive mutually. Potentially, at least. Although the Draconians could make a Gifts from Heaven strat very risky for Marverni. Especially if you have some Draconians on attack and then some on hold and attack. And so you have a consistent flow of flyers in on the backline. So yeah, I think we're good there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the graphs. So for provinces, we've got Lanka way out in front, but their position is a lot more tenuous than the graphs would imply. Hinnom had a solid recovery this turn, counter-raiding Sauromatia, and we see that in Sauromatia's graph. Everyone else is mostly holding steady. Berytos and are in a somewhat distant second and third from Lanka. And then we've got Helheim. For forts, we've got Berytos, TNG, and then a whole host of nations below them. For income, we've got Berytos and out in front, a whole pack of nations in the center, and then rounding out the bottom 3 are Xibalba, Marverni, and Hinnom. And I think that's a big reason Marverni needs to get fighting, retake some of those stolen lands, because that is a fair amount of gold. Xibalba needs to launch that attack on Lanka to try and gain gold. And the Hinnom needs to try and survive and maybe get back to where he was. But everyone else is sort of in the middle, but there's a lot of gold under this curve. Now, a fair amount of it could be trapped in mage upkeep, which would reflect in the research graphs, but it also reflects in the fort graphs, at least for Berytos. So Berytos has more capacity to produce new mages if a fight goes poorly, which I do think is a very strong position to be in the mid game, is if you can lose an army and rebuild it really quickly, then you're in much better shape than someone who's doom stacking around, but if they lose that doom stack, then they're screwed. And that kind of goes back to something Lucid talks a lot about, which is the the capacity to make mistakes before you lose a game. Berytos has built up a solid capacity for himself to make a mistake or two, to lose an army or two, and still survive and potentially recover in a game. Whereas someone like Marverni might lose their main stack, and I think it would be extremely difficult for them to recover. For gym income, we've got Lanka, Marverni, Helheim, Mekone, and TNC. And then for blood income, we've got Berytos, Xibalba, and Hinnom. I would expect the Xibalba blood eco to drop off a bit, as even if he's blood hunting now, the unrest will rise because a lot of the patrollers have moved. And I would expect that to maybe even out at a lower number or drop, because his main stacks are off fighting. And once the unrest goes up in a province, then it's a lot, your chances for successful hunts go down. Now, it takes quite a bit of unrest to really negatively affect your hunting, but it will definitely build up, and it can also affect recruitment if you're hunting a fort. All right, for research, we've got Berytos way out in front, so that gold under the curve is manifested into a big research lead. TNC is moving mages, so he's falling off, whereas Berytos is inflecting up even a little bit more. Marverni's still very good research, so he might feel confident taking a war here in just a few turns, if he's trying to hit a couple of research targets. And then we've got Helheim and Fomoria. For Dominion, we've got Hinnom, TNC, Marverni, Helheim, and Lanka. For army size, we have Berytos way out in front. We've got Xibalba and further behind, and then TNC. Now, two of these are humans. One is, larger humans, I guess, but at least a unique group. And then Xibalba's got bats. So, but also has foreign recruits. So we're talking about some nations that do a pretty good job raising large armies. And then we've got the more nations that rely on elite troops like Lanka, Mekone, Hinnom, etc. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this one. Yeah, and hopefully we'll start seeing a new war break out soon. I want to see Mekone move these troops. I want to see, I think Helheim's preparing an elfing. I want to see that elfing manifest. He's prepared a couple and hasn't really done it. We're committed to it. Sauromatia is in a very tough position. They have to figure out what they're going to do about these Hinnom groups, but they can kill the raiding parties. They'll have to bring more stuff, but I believe they can definitely kill raiding parties. Again, though, they do need that bit of construction or thaumaturgy, because they either need to paralyze or soul slay the mill carts, or they need the GSS thugs to try and kill the mill carts while other cavalry distract them. So we'll have to see what transpires, and then we've still got some independents sitting around. So we'll have to see what happens here. But no one seems to really want the Throne of Death. It is a known throne now. It's got the scales in the province. So everyone knows what it is, and so far they seem content to let the vampires sit here. But yeah, I will see you guys next turn. Have a good one. Bye.